Former Minister of Education, Obi Ezekwesili, has delivered a sharp criticism of Nigeria's political class, arguing that many Nigerian politicians appear patriotic when they are in government, but become something very different after leaving office. Ezekwesili made the remarks during a live appearance on Arise Television's Prime Time, where she also questioned the way Nigerians approach elections and political debates. Her central argument was blunt. Nigeria's problems cannot simply be solved by waiting for another election cycle. According to the former minister, her central argument was blunt. Nigeria's problem cannot simply be solved by waiting for another election cycle.
Well, you know, in 2023, I made it very clear that just using the criteria on which I see leadership either fail to govern well or succeed to govern well, that I would not be making any choice amongst the three candidates that happen to also be the three candidates again in the next elections. And I said, just on the premise of that, nothing else, no primordial affiliations or anything driving this assessment, character, competence, capacity. And I made it clear that the other two candidates score considerably lower than what you would assign to a governor, former Governor Obi, and so that I was going to stand with Governor Obi. I don't think that anything has really significantly changed.
Right.
But we just, you know, keep waiting and seeing what will happen to this country, because frankly speaking, I do not think that the most important thing for Nigerians to be talking about is the 2027 elections.
At this point.
At this point.
Right.
At this point. I mean, if you consider the kind of hollowing out of the Nigeria state that we have experienced in the last couple of years, then you should know that, you know, we almost are just, you know, what's that word they use where you're walking, sleeping, and
daydreaming.
Yeah, you know, you're just walking
sleepwalking.
You know, it's almost like we're in denial. I mean, think of what has happened to us from one electoral cycle to another electoral cycle. And what do we have to show for it? What we have to show for it is the complete collapse of the dignity of the human being, as, you know, the dignity of life. It's like we have zeroed out on the value of life. And yet we continue to think that somehow, you know, if we just keep doing elections, we'll be fine. And I am challenging that and saying that Nigerians should at least vote for themselves. And, you know, if no one votes for you in terms of the leaders you're choosing, vote for yourselves. Because think of what we have seen in the degradation. The degradation is devastating. And frankly speaking, the greatest tragedy of the country is this resignation that this is our destiny. I say, no, this is by design.
The acceptance of it.
It is not our destiny. This is by design.
It shouldn't be.
And this design needs to be challenged. And I have put it out there that challenging this design requires going to the table of real conversation that leads to an agreement on what our shared values are. I mean, the more you listen to rhetorics across the polity, you know that we really have a problem of understanding whether we have any shared values at all. And then what we have to agree...
There is an identity
An
crisis.
identity. So I was going to come to that. Then the second thing is the national vision. What are we all aspiring to? Because what you see is almost a complete orphaning of the Nigeria state. The Nigeria construct is orphaned. And it's only loved by the people I call predators of patriotism. These are predators. When they are in office, they are patriotic about Nigeria. Outside of office, they are not patriotic about Nigeria. So in office, they create a false equivalency of saying that a criticism of poor governance that they are offering to Nigerians is you not liking Nigeria. I mean, that is so disingenuous. It is duplicitous and should be something nobody gives any
But
time
let me
to.
ask you
But
this.
the third thing is agreeing a common identity, sort of where we say, on the basis of the fact that I absolutely love this country, I would rather be Nigerian than be any other thing, we can have some common agreements around the identity. So you're defending that identity. I am defending it. It does not matter what you believe or what I believe. We are agreeable to the construct of the Nigerian identity.
According to the former minister, Nigerians are spending too much time discussing the 2027 general elections while the country is already facing serious problems that require attention today. But what exactly did Ezekwesili mean when she described some politicians as predators of patriotism? Ezekwesili argued that politicians in government often present themselves as defenders of Nigeria and demand loyalty from citizens. However, she said those same politicians can become critics of the country's leadership once they leave office. She described this contradiction as one of the problems affecting Nigeria's political culture. And it's only loved by the people I call predators of patriotism, Ezekwesili said. She then explained what she meant by the phrase. When they are in office, they are patriotic about Nigeria, but outside of office, they are not patriotic, she stated. The former minister was particularly critical of the attitude towards criticism while politicians are in power. She lamented that politicians frequently react negatively when citizens challenge their performance or criticize poor governance. According to her, people who question government policies or demand accountability can sometimes be portrayed as enemies of the country. But Ezekwesili's argument is that genuine patriotism should not depend on whether an individual occupies a government position. If someone believes in Nigeria while in office, she argued, that commitment should continue even after leaving government. The comments comes against the backdrop of growing political activity ahead of the 2027 general elections. Political parties, politicians, and various interest groups have already begun positioning themselves for the next electoral context. But Ezekwesili wants Nigerians to look beyond the election calendar. She argued that the country's immediate challenges should receive greater attention than political calculations about who will contest or win in 2027. I do not think that the most important thing for Nigerians to be talking about is 2027 elections at this point, she said. That statement raises an important question. If Nigerians should not make the 2027 election the center of attention right now, what should they be focusing on? For Ezekwesili, the answer is the condition of the country itself. She argued that repeated electoral cycles have not automatically translated into better governance or improved living conditions for citizens. Instead, she warned that something more fundamental has been lost. According to the former minister, Nigeria has experienced what she described as a complete collapse of human dignity through successive electoral cycles. She also argued that the value placed on human life has deteriorated. Elections after elections in Nigeria, there is a complete collapse of human dignity, she said. Her criticism goes beyond political parties or individual politicians. Ezekwesili is questioning the broader political system and the way Nigerians participate in it. Her argument appears to be that elections should not simply be about choosing another set of political office holders. They should also be about determining whether government actually works for ordinary citizens. That is why she urged Nigerians to begin voting for themselves. The phrase does not necessarily mean refusing to participate in elections. Rather, her argument is that citizens should begin placing their own interests, welfare, dignity, and future at the center of political decision-making. Instead of simply following politicians because of party loyalty, personality, or political alliances, voters should ask a more fundamental question. What has this political system delivered to ordinary Nigerians? Ezekwesili also warned that the country is experiencing a serious form of denial. If you consider the kind of hallowing out of Nigeria's state that we have experienced in the last couple of years, then you should know that we are sleepwalking, she said. It's almost like we are in denial. The language used by the former minister reflects the seriousness of her assessment of Nigeria's political and social condition. She believes citizens should not become so consumed by electoral politics that they overlook the problems affecting them between elections. That argument is particularly relevant in a country where political conversations often become intense during election periods but gradually decline once elections are over. The challenge, therefore, is whether Nigerians can demand accountability continuously rather than only during campaigns. Ezekwesili's comments also raise questions about the relationship between politicians and criticism. In a functioning democracy, criticism of government is not supposed to be treated as hostility towards the country. Citizens have the right to question policies, challenge decisions, and demand explanations from those exercising public power. The real test of patriotism, therefore, may be whether political leaders can accept criticism even when it is uncomfortable. And that brings the conversation back to Ezekwesili's central argument. Are politicians genuinely committed to Nigeria? Or is patriotism sometimes being used as political language while individuals are in office? And when those politicians leave office, do they continue to defend the same principles they demanded citizens respect while they were in office? These are difficult questions, and Ezekwesili's comments are likely to generate debate because they challenge both politicians and voters. For politicians, the message is that public service should be measured by what happens to citizens rather than by political slogans. For voters, the message is equally significant. Elections should not be treated as the only moment when citizens exercise political power. Citizens can demand accountability, question government policies, scrutinize political promises, and challenge poor governance throughout the electoral cycle. The 2027 election will gradually arrive, but Ezekwesili's warning is that Nigerians should not allow the next election to distract them from the problems confronting the country today. Her challenge is for Nigerians to begin thinking beyond political personalities and political structures and start asking what kind of country they want to live in. And perhaps the most provocative part of her message is her call for citizens to vote for themselves. That means putting human dignity, economic well-being, accountability, security, and the value of life at the center of political choices. Whether Nigerians agree with Ezekwesili or not, her comments may reopen a major debate about Nigeria's political culture. Are elections producing the change citizens need? Are politicians truly patriotic beyond the period they occupy public office? And can Nigerians move away from personality-driven politics and demand a system that consistently puts citizens first? Those questions may prove just as important as the political context that is already beginning to take shape ahead of 2027. If you find this report informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I am Cassie Tony, and many thanks for watching.